it wasn't until I joined my paranormal team, Maryland Paranormal Research, in my mid-20s that I finally started getting validation for the experiences I had as a child, and realizing, like, well, first of all, there's like-minded individuals out there, other people having experiences, but also I am not crazy. There is something to this, and there's something more to be explored.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Ghost City podcast. As you know, I am Tim, and this week I am joined by Elizabeth Saint, who I've actually known about you for quite some time. Elizabeth, you've been involved in the paranormal and you know, TV production, and now it looks like you're kind of doing like movies, maybe, or something. Like, I was on your Instagram last night, and I'm like, damn, this girl's all over the place. But instead of rambling on about that, first of all, just thanks for being here. I think this is going to be a great conversation. And for anybody who might not know who you are, like, let's dig into that. Who are you, Elizabeth?
Yeah. Hi. Thanks so much for having me.
Sure.
First and foremost. But yes, I am Elizabeth Saint. Some people might know me from the paranormal reality TV show, The Ghosts of Shepherdstown. Mm-hmm. I also worked behind the scenes on Paranormal Lockdown. My background's in electrical engineering, so for that show, I built a lot of the tech and large experiments for season 3 and 4. Mm-hmm. And since then, I'm video producer by day, so I dabble in a lot of work that has to do with paranormal documentaries. But then I also, my production company steps outside of that, which is kind of good. It's good for my own peace of mind to do things other than just paranormal. But my heart has always been in this field, which kind of stemmed back from experiences I had when I was a child. Mm-hmm. And recently, pointing towards what you just mentioned, recently I've been doing these, what I call them stories with saints. Mm-hmm. So I started an immersive paranormal audio series that's going to drop later this month.
Right.
And it started off as like a text-based series where people can vote a story along the way.
Okay.
It's like an adult choose your own adventure type of series. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the things that you might have seen are just like, I've been dabbling in AI video. And so every time I release a part for the audience, I make a video portion that matches that. Ooh. And then later this year, there's Steve Shippey, who a lot of people know for various works, but also Haunting in the Heartland. He has a documentary film releasing later this year that I was a part of.
So you just don't sleep. I think that's really what you're getting at here. During the day, you make the shows, and now you do like.
No, I don't think, you know what, to be honest with you, at the beginning of this year, I said to myself, you know, for a long time, the past few years, actually, I haven't been as present online, just in the community in general. I kind of took a step back. Mm-hmm. And this year, I made it a point to say to myself, I'm going to do all the things that I have been saying I'm going to do for the past few years.
Right.
I think that when you're a producer, you have a video production company of your own, you find yourself doing a lot of projects for other people. And although those projects can be very rewarding, I find that, sorry.
That's all right.
I find that it's draining for my soul. Mm-hmm. And so I needed to start investing some time, no matter how busy I was. I said, I'm going to start investing time into the things that I'm most passionate about. Yeah. So it's putting out the podcast this year. Mm-hmm. It's, I'm doing music. And so that's been my focus.
Yeah. I mean, I think, you know, I'm kind of at that same stage in life too, like where I'm like, I need to start doing things for myself. This Ghost City thing, I mean, we've been a company, 13 years now or something? And it seems like every day, all day, it's just dedicated to what other people need. You know, and I know this is my company, so ultimately it's what I'm doing for myself. But, you know, like I'm kind of at that point now where, you know, because I'm 45, like I'm going to be dead soon. So I figured, you know, I need to start finding time for myself as well. But it seems like you might actually be a little bit further along that journey than I am. I'm still struggling trying to even give myself permission to, do things for myself. So I totally understand where you're coming from with that, even though.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think you used a funny phrase there, but I completely empathize. It's like giving yourself permission to do something for yourself. It shouldn't be like that.
It shouldn't.
But, if I don't, and maybe I am going through a bit of a midlife crisis, but I've recently been saying to myself, like, if I don't do it now, when is it going to happen? I keep saying next year, next month, like, let's just do it. And I'm going to be honest with you. My sound designer for the narrative podcast, Stories with Saint, that I'm working on, he sent me the episode this morning, like fully done. And I listened to it. I'm not kidding you. I cried because it was the first time in so long that I had done something for myself, and not only started it, but completed it.
Right.
And I said to myself, like, wow, I'm so happy that I pushed through like sleepless nights, pushed through me saying like I don't have time, and just did it. Like at the end of the day, you just have to do it because there's no better time. It's cliche, but no better time than right now.
Yeah. Or next year. That's my philosophy right now.
Not next year.
Well, that's my philosophy right now.
Yeah.
No, I think that's common in people that have like a high agency, right? Like, because reading your bio and just knowing a little bit about you, it does seem like you have kind of this wide range of interests, and you're somebody who, if I read your entire bio, I'm thinking this person's driven by curiosity and like a desire to know more. And maybe I'm partly right there and not fully right. I totally anticipate not being fully right. But when you find yourself kind of in that place where like you're always looking for that next thing or that next thing to do, that next thing to fill, something in your life, you do end up at a point, and for a lot of people it seems to hit, between like 40 and 45 where they're like, okay, I've finally done enough for all that. Now I really just need to come back home and focus on myself. So holy shit. Am I turning this into a fucking therapy session, guys? Like, I
completely agree. We will get to exciting stuff, but I think it's important to talk about too.
Yeah.
And you're spot on. Yeah. I've always been curious, always eager to know more. I know. And I think it's funny too. The curiosity stays, even though the answers I know are not achievable in this lifetime, maybe. Because if they were, then what's the point of really being here? But
Jersey Mike's cheese sticks. That's really
Well, I will live vicariously through you on that one.
Why vicariously? You don't have Jersey Mike's. You're from New Jersey. Isn't that where it started?
No, I decided to be vegan in my 20s, and it kind of stuck. So,
so I won't go into this too much, but I dated somebody who was a vegan for 6 years. And while I respect the lifestyle, whether you're doing it for health reasons or moral reasons or whatever your thing is, there is no way in hell I can never be a vegan. Like I just couldn't do it. But much respect to you. I'm going to go eat my cheesesteak while you dine on your tofu and broccoli or whatever
I love tofu. No, I mean, you know what? I planned on just being pescatarian, like only eating fish, but
right. Well, Kurt Cobain did say they don't have any feelings, so it's okay to eat them.
True. Oddly true.
Yeah. It's okay.
I don't agree with that, but
no,
I could see that's an interesting perspective. Yeah.
Well, he also talked about eating drippings from the ceiling, so I don't know that he was totally onto something in that song. But anyway, so so you're a curious person, and you want to find out more about the world around you, and I'm sure that's kind of even the engineering thing. Like, don't engineers like I am not an engineer. I'm a software engineer, but not like a real one. Like, isn't the main goal behind that, like, I need to figure things out? Like, I need to, that there's a situation, I need to come up with a resolution to that, right? Like, is that engineering in a nutshell?
Oh, absolutely. I think, well, yes.
Right.
Yeah. I think for me, it's a big part of me. I think that was the draw. But, a kid growing up in the 90s, we were on like the cusp of technology.
Right.
And
Game Boys.
Yeah, Game Boys, Nintendo, our little floppy disk games on
Right.
our Apple II computers.
Mhm.
It's just a different world. But I grew up loving technology.
Mhm.
And so when I did eventually go to school, I was forced to take an intro to circuits class as part of my computer science degree.
Intro to circus, like
And
the
intro to
yeah.
circuits. And
Oh,
so
circuits.
I circuits,
I
yeah,
thought you said
sorry. Not the
circus.
circus.
Yeah, I was like, how? I've never heard of intro to
Intro to
circus.
yeah, they required it.
Yeah.
You will laugh.
Yeah.
It's just a juggling class.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah. But no, I honestly, I fell in love with it. I immediately changed my major. And it's, no, you're right. It requires some curiosity. It's definitely completely different. I just feel like there's two sides of myself that are constantly at war with each other. The side of me that is the natural engineer, but then the side of me that has these paranormal experiences. And I think they're good for each other. They've been good for when I build gear. They've been good for when I'm trying to approach things in a logical way. And it's also been good to let myself go a bit.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Well, so you've always been a naturally curious person. You always want to learn more. And earlier in the conversation, you said, where the paranormal kind of got brought into this mix was that you had things happen during your childhood. And I'm curious to know if you're comfortable sharing what those things were. Like what got that into your brain to begin with?
Yeah. So when we first moved to New Jersey down from Connecticut, I was about 4 years old. And it was a new build, the house that we moved into. And for as far back as I can remember from the time that we lived there, I started having experiences at night. And I guess in some ways you could say, you're about the age where you start having like really vivid dreams and stuff like that. But this was a little bit more beyond just having dreams and experiences. I started like actually hearing things sometimes in my house. This sounds a little creepy. I started becoming a sleepwalker. And my mom would find me in random places in the house, which was really weird. But they would coincide with these nightmares that I would have. And oftentimes it was reoccurring. And a lot of times it had to do with the same man who would come into my dreams.
Okay.
And so that was really the starting point for me. And then as a kid, I just found myself fascinated with ghosts, dinosaurs, space. Like those were my things. Those are the only things that I read about, the only things that I really cared about aside from sports. And that was really the beginning for me. If I could just fast forward real quick,
Sure.
I did get validation for those experiences, which was very strange. I did like a little test. I asked 3 different psychics that I knew in the field if they could review a case for me. And all I did was send them pictures of my old house. And I said, could you tell me about the experiences somebody might have in this house? And each one of them came back to me with the same thing. They said that there's a really angry man spirit in the top left corner of this picture, which was my bedroom.
Okay.
that sometimes portals would be created in this space. And this person a lot of times would experience like nightmares, and that's how they would be visited by these spirits that were in their space. And honestly, I was blown away because all of them pieced together a little bit of that. One of them called me out and said, this is your childhood home. But I don't know how they would have known that. They don't I think a lot of people don't know my original last name or anything like that. So, but I did get some validation for my childhood experiences, that it wasn't just me being a little kid, that there was actually something to it.
So with the validation you got, one, not that you probably thought that you were, but I'm sure that helped you feel maybe a little less crazy about what happened to you as a kid. But what did that do to you as a kid? Because when you say kid, I don't know if you're talking about like 3 years old, 7 years old, 12 years old, but those type of things tend to have a lasting impact. But the immediate impact is a lot of times kids don't know how to handle those experiences. Like, what did that child look like, as you when you were going through those things?
Yeah, I was so I was quite the introvert as a child. I still am.
Hmm.
I feel like I do a better
Introverts
job.
rule the world. I know I seem like really
Yeah.
funny and talkative.
Here, here.
I am.
No,
I
no.
hate talking and people. I'm a complete introvert. I mean, I like
No,
everybody. Like,
I'm with you.
yeah, I like Paul's okay. Carter, I could do without. Um, uh, and I like persons, but I don't like people. If that makes any sense, like,
No, it makes total
yeah,
sense. People have like a time limit. And if they
yeah,
don't, then I know that I really like them.
hmm, yeah. I get that.
Yeah. So for me growing up, if I didn't play so many sports as a kid, I definitely wouldn't have had friends. I wasn't really that kind of kid. And I had such a vast imagination that sometimes, to be honest, it would be quite confusing having the experiences that I did because I I was a kid that I could just look out into a space and I could have it like become a completely different reality right before my eyes. And I remember having these experiences, and therefore it was really difficult for me to know whether or not it was real. But it was scary enough to know that it wasn't right. And and so for many years I grew up just not talking about a lot of things. I think once or twice I may have mentioned something to my mom. Um, like one time we were at the kitchen table and I heard this man whispering in my ear and I said, someone's talking to me and I don't know. And my mom was just like, oh, well, what are they saying?
Right.
I was just like, I don't know. I don't know. But point is that I would rarely bring it up. Um, After I would wake up a lot from the nightmares that I would have. And like, of course, you go into your parents' bedroom and like they tell you everything's okay, there's nothing there. And I think that that's not a distant experience from that most people have. Like that's quite common. But for me, I found that a lot of things got stronger as I got older and I just stopped talking about any of it to the point where like I might be talking to you just completely normal conversation in a public place and I see something like next to you and I would just say to myself, okay, I'm just going to pretend that these things are there and I'm going to hold on to my sanity because if I don't talk about it, then I can't be crazy.
Well, didn't that kind of make you lonely, like as a kid? Almost like you didn't have anybody that could relate to what you were going through, or at least you didn't know of anybody you could relate to,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we think about back then, it's not like we had really ghost shows on the TV.
or
I
internet.
mean, yeah, or
Yeah.
internet. Or we would have Robert Stack after school, which I loved, but I would watch from the kitchen with the
Right.
living room over there.
Right.
But uh but yeah, there was no point of reference for what I was experiencing. It's not like I could hop online and Google like go onto Reddit and see other things that people were experiencing just like me. So yeah, it was absolutely a little lonely. Um, but I did find validation for those experiences later when I started. But then we're talking about in my 20s now. Um, so it wasn't until I joined my paranormal team, Maryland Paranormal Research, in my mid 20s that I finally started getting validation for the experiences I had as a child and realizing like, well, first of all, there's like-minded individuals out there, other people having experiences, but also I am not crazy. There is something to this and there's something more to be explored.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much more to be explored. I mean, even within yourself, when it comes to these topics and stuff. It's funny you mentioned a couple of things. I'm like, holy shit, like that reminds me of myself so much. And I'm not going to get into the whole story or anything, but when I was a young kid, probably between the ages of like 3 and 5, that's when like ghosts kind of entered my world. And I was a little lucky that I could talk to my mom, about it, and or my aunt, and they would be like, oh yeah, like that's the lady at the end of the hall and all that kind of stuff. But it kind of forces your mind into this place. And I don't want to get like too esoteric here or anything like that, but you know, it forces your mind into this position where, you know, you do kind of feel alone. Um, Even right down to dinosaurs in space. I have dinosaur and space tattoos on me. Like, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm totally into dinosaurs in space too. And this is where this is usually where I like rip my chest open. I'm like, here's my dinosaur tattoos, but we're not gonna. I'm gonna keep this PG-13. Nobody wants to see that shit.
Hear them roar.
But the other interesting thing I've noticed about people who, you know, kind of went through what you described. I mean, and I'm going to include myself in here in some way. You get to a point where, like, you feel this need to tell the world the story or stories, and people like that tend to be very good at like, okay, and maybe they don't even understand why, but like they need to tell stories. They need to be able to express themselves in ways where, like, maybe as a child they really didn't get that chance to express themselves because I'm misunderstood. You know, people might think I'm crazy. You know, your mom, you know, heard a couple of things that you told her, but you know, I'm willing to bet like you never really felt like people get it. And now you're at a stage in life where you're like, whether one reason or another, it's like I need to tell stories now. Like, and you went into the film making and the stories you're working on now. Like I always think that it's really fascinating. I mean, look what I'm doing right now. I'm doing a fucking dumbass podcast. Like there's just this need to, like, as an adult, to try to, I don't know, heal wounds. That sounds very dramatic. I'm not going to use that one, but like,
No,
I need to share stories.
Right.
Like that's my way of like trying to reconcile with the child who never got the chance to explain himself and share what they were going through. And now I have that opportunity, so I'm going to do it.
No, I think that you're spot on, actually. And even with the stories that I write, every single story has a point of origin within myself.
Sure.
Every single story that I've written, there's a layer of truth to it, whether it be an experience that I had, or an experience that I know someone close to me has had.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I do find it to be incredibly therapeutic because,
Mm-hmm.
in a way, whether people, it's fiction, right?
Right.
But in a way, whether people realize it or not, and most times not, yeah, it's a big part of me. It is
Sure.
me expressing the experiences that I've had in this community that defy logic.
Yeah.
So many times, you know.
Yeah. And I'm sure doing that is very satisfying. I mean, you said that you received that clip this morning and you started crying a little bit. Like,
I know, like I did, yeah.
Yeah. It can be very like healing the soul type of work, you know, and unless you went through those things as a child and always felt the need to kind of reconcile with that, you might think that this woman just likes making films and all this stuff, where it's like, well, yeah, but there's also something much deeper at work here.
Yeah.
All right.
No, I agree.
Now I got to switch out.
I love that you said that.
Well, I got to switch out of psychologist mode here, because here soon I will be asking you about relationships and with your parents and all that kind of stuff. They're trying to dive in deeper. So I'm like, all right, Tim, you're not Freud. Shut the fuck up. So, but all this kind of, you know, got the ball rolling for your interest in the paranormal. And, you know, that ultimately led to you, you know, being on shows, you know, joining the ghost hunting group. I'm sure you've been on a ton of investigations, you know, all this stuff. One, have you found any answers along the way to those questions you were searching for as a kid?
The only thing I can probably say with certainty is that there is something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I think you figured it out.
There we go.
Yeah.
But I still struggle with all the time, you know, there is still the part of me that will always say, sometimes my dreams are just as real as my reality. Therefore, is this the real one, or are my dreams the real one?
Right.
I can't for certain say that I'm even talking to you right now. I can't confirm my existence, really.
Well, what is existence?
So,
like, you know,
I know, like, I know that I have these thoughts and these feelings, but are they even me? I think that I will always endlessly struggle with being able to define anything, because there's always a portion of myself that has a pretty good explanation for me that goes in the opposite direction. And so, yeah, I think that through learning more in this field, getting to know more people, their experiences, which are so fascinating. I think if anything, I have felt more the community with people that feel a lot like I do.
Yeah.
And that's been great for that little kid that I used to be. And then more questions and answers. If I got any answers at all, they just open up more questions. And
well, that's the truth.
I just find that the more I feel like I know, the more I,
don't know.
Like the saying, the more I realize I don't know anything at all.
Yeah. That's kind of sad. Yeah. But that's not for you. It's just like
exciting. It's exciting and sad.
Oh, that's right. Because you're a very curious person. So it's almost like you found like the perpetual motion machine that keeps your curiosity in motion forever. Right?
Yeah.
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 Because there is no end. I actually think what's going to happen, because I've thought about this question too. Like, I've been in the ghost world for quite some time. My general answer always is when people ask me, what do I think? I'm like, well, actually, I've been working on this consciousness model lately where I just think everything is conscious. I think consciousness is a field within the universe, just like gravity or anything else. But I think what's going to happen is I'm going to die like tomorrow. And then I'm going to realize everything I thought was completely wrong. Like, I think that's going to because it's probably going to be something either way worse than we're thinking it is, or it's going to be like some magical experience. Like those people have near-death experiences and they kind of describe it like, well, I didn't even want to come back. It's going to be one or the other. Like, but I don't know what's going to happen either. But going into these haunted locations and looking for these ghosts, it does give us a hope that maybe we'll be able to figure it out. Maybe, probably not.
I think so. Yeah. I'm not sure if we're supposed to really know. And I think that if anything, if there's nothing external going on, then we have to at least walk away with saying to ourselves, wow, we're capable of so much more than we realize.
Yeah, when you start diving into it from that perspective, it becomes even more weird. Like I was reading a book the other day and it was talking about consciousness because that's like something I'm kind of a little bit obsessed with right now. And I'm going to totally fuck this up. But essentially what it was saying was that the entire external world, it only exists in your brain, right? Like, so what does that really mean about the external world? That my brain is making all this up? You were saying just a little bit ago, like, I don't even know if I'm talking to you. Like, how can I be sure, all these things? And that kind of reminded me of that quote in that book where it's like the entire external world exists only in your brain.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but that's true, but that's so strange to think about.
It is. Yeah. Well, it's also strange to think about when we think about what our future holds with robots and VR. And at the end of the day, we're just accepting the stimuli around us, and we're just taking that into our brain. Everything is just a signal, and so to be able to trip us up,
right?
In a way to make us think that, oh, you are experiencing this, you are seeing this, but you're not actually. Like, it messes with me a lot, all the time.
Yeah. For one, I'm excited for the robots. I might have friends.
I am absolutely excited for the robots. I will be the first to say it, and I don't care what everybody else says. And I put in good words for myself all the time.
Right. Like, it's really sad.
I make sure to talk to them politely.
Yeah. It's really sad. Like, even, the AI interfaces we have right now where we can, interact with AI.
Right.
I interact with those way more than people right now.
Yeah.
Like, so yeah, I need I need some friends, I already have the names picked out. And the robots are going to be my friends. Anyways, I'm down.
No, I'm with you though. Yeah. I'm 1,000% with you.
Yeah. Like, I want a robot. I'll be like, hey, you want to go grab dinner? And it will be like, I do not eat food, but I will keep you entertained. I'm like, all right, buddy, come on. And then,
exactly. Yeah.
And then I don't got to pay for its dinner. I mean, shit, what better friend is there? Like
that's funny.
Yeah.
No, I had a conversation with Alexa the other day, and Alexa told me that they're putting in a good word for me when the robot uprising happens. And I was like, perfect. Thank you.
You could be queen of the robots.
Sorry to everybody who's listening to this podcast out loud.
What? Oh yeah.
Their Alexas just went off.
Yeah. Alexa.
I'm so sorry.
Send Alexa, order Tim Nealon. No, I don't even want anything.
Jersey Mike's.
Yeah, Jersey Mike's. Like, I'm trying to get them as a sponsor of the show. Like, it's not going to happen. But I'm like, come on, Jersey Mike's. And Ghost Energy Drink, the unofficial energy drink of Ghost City Tours, called Ghost. By the way, I'm down to one of those a day, guys, believe it or not. I used to have like 6 or 7. I was a fucking crazy person. Like, you would have thought I was on crack. Thank you. I think that might be the first sound effect. I was like, what the hell is that in the history of the show? But thank you for the applause. I really appreciate it. It was a lot of work.
It.
Oh, yeah. Carter just like made this applause noise go on. And I'm like, what's going on here? And then I realized it was, for the hard work I put in to eliminate my energy drink consumption. So, to get back to the paranormal theme here, though, your interest in it went way beyond more than just like a baseline curiosity in it, because there's a lot of people that they could be curious in ghosts and maybe, go on a little ghost adventure or visit their friends who have a haunted house and do some EVP sessions or something like that. But you took it way beyond that. I mean, you ended up on a show about it. So this wasn't just a surface level interest for you. So, aside from the fact that there is that element of the unknown and, like I said, the perpetual curiosity machine that, it will always keep you curious. What is it that made you take that step and dive deeper into the paranormal?
Yeah. So it was a difficult step for me to take, actually. So I moved down to the Washington, D.C. area for a job that I took on for the Department of Defense, and I was working as an electrical engineer.
Oh shit!
And while I was down here, and while I was down here, well, first and foremost, I found myself quite lonely. I didn't have family down here. I love the work that I do. I love the people that I was working with, but I still felt like something was missing. And so I started doing 2 things. I started like doing some like fun indie film projects, acting in on the side whenever I could. And then I found a paranormal team. And at the time, you're going to think it's funny, but at the time I was like, I didn't even know that was a thing.
Right. Well, back in the early days, there weren't that many of them. Now there's like 18,000 of them, but yeah.
Yeah. It's just like, maybe 12 years ago or so.
That wasn't too long ago.
12, 13 years ago. It wasn't that long ago, no. But for me, like my life up until that point was just in a very different direction. I wasn't talking to anybody else that was having experiences. I wasn't in a paranormal community. And so when I moved down here to Virginia, the first place I moved into, I started having experiences that were very much so like the ones that I had when I was a child, where I would wake up and there was a man standing there in the door frame of my apartment bedroom. There was one time where I was taking a shower and I started hearing this man whistling and walking closer and closer to my shower. And I thought someone had broken in. And then when I pulled back the curtain, there was nobody there. I started having out-of-body experiences when I was sleeping, to which I saw this man who was a bit unstable. I'll be kind. A bit unstable, who would be pacing back and forth in my closet. And so I said to myself, you know what? Maybe there's something I could do about this. Maybe it's time to explore a part of myself that I've been afraid to confront for so many years and get some answers, because I can't keep living like this. I can't keep having these kind of experiences and not have any answers for them, or at least a validation that I'm not crazy. And I'm not ready to accept that. I mean, I'm definitely crazy, but I'm not ready to accept that I'm like crazy to the point where I need
medication.
help.
Yeah.
Right. So I did some Googling and I found a team called Maryland Paranormal Research, and Hiram, who's the head of this team. And a lot of the people that were part of the team were either worked for the government or prior military, contracted for the government, like very scientific minded people. And I was like, oh my God, these are my people. Like, I need these people. And so our first call together was like 3 hours long. And that call just meant the world to me, because it was the first time in my life that I got to really sit down with somebody and just talk about something that I've been passionate about for so long, but just kept it to myself. And so on the team, we actually, after going through several investigations, and we would do residential, commercial for fun investigations. And I love the team because it would take us like 4 hours to set up all of the gear and equipment. We had like sound stages and sensors in every room and lots of data, which I loved and I learned so much from. But to fast forward a bit just to the decision, we had a production company that reached out to our team. I know it happens a lot, and curious if anyone was interested in being part of a show that was going to be investigating Shepherdstown, West Virginia. It would be a whole town. You'd be working with the police, a historian that lived there. And they said that it was going to be on this network, Destination America. I had never heard of Destination America. And I thought to myself, okay, like, if I do this project, like no one's going to see it. Thank God. Like my friends, my parents won't know about it. Nothing like that.
Why do you want anybody to know about it?
Well, because I lived my whole life pretending like it wasn't really there. Like everybody knew that I was into weird stuff because I'm just a weird person, but they didn't necessarily know about my experiences that I've had in my life and that I was having on a consistent basis. So that was something I kept close to the chest. And now if this got out, now I was going to be labeled as something very specific that they wanted to label me as. And I wasn't sure how it would be received. And I'd be stepping a bit away from my engineering life. And it was a big decision for me to make to move forward with Ghosts of Shepherdstown. It meant so much more than just being on a show. What intrigued me was that I would be able to explore the whole town. I'd be able to work with Chief King. I'd be able to work with Dana, who was our historian on the show. I'd be able to work with Bill Hartley, was another local investigator on a different team in Maryland. And I'd be able to work with somebody else. And I thought that was like so cool and so great. I was like, you know what? This is a fantastic opportunity. How often we always investigate one location and go. How often do you get to 4 months, stay in one place and investigate the same place and different places within the town? Like I just thought like, I'm going to jump on board that curiosity train and see where it leads.
Well, that's your data analytical mind at work. You know, the more, I mean, seriously, like the more data points that you're able to collect, you know, the more likely you're able to complete that picture, right? So instead of just going to one location and getting data from one, now I have data. I'm able to sample data from all these different things, which makes it more complex, you know, engineering brain. And then like, it, you know, I don't know, who knows? All right.
So I decided to do it.
Well, good.
And then I signed on. And then I got a call from the producer saying that, so originally it was Bill, myself, and another guy
We'll call him Greg. We'll call him Greg, the other guy. Yeah.
I don't remember what his name was.
Yeah, his name is Greg.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just Greg. He's Greg.
I knew it. So anyways, and then I get a call saying that he's no longer going to be a part of the show. And instead, they're going to be bringing on Nick Groff from Ghost Adventures to be a part of our show.
Yep.
And I remember after that phone call, sitting in the car and being like, fuck. Now everyone's going to know about this show.
All right.
That was literally my thought. It's like, I don't know what this means for like, I think a little bit more, there will be a slightly bigger audience just for that reason. And, but you know what? I think that the first day we all met in Shepherdstown, we all sat and had dinner together, myself, Bill, and Nick. And in that moment, honestly, it was like having a conversation with two friends that I just had not seen in this life. Like that's what it felt like. It was like, wow, it felt like an, oh, it's so good to see you again feeling. Like, how has your life been up until this point moment? Then just like, these are two people and strangers I don't know. It just worked. It just worked for the three of us. And it was a fantastic experience being able to film 2 seasons of that. But after the first season, that's when it was released. That's when, it came out, I think a year after, because they wanted to put out Paranormal Lockdown before they put out Ghosts of Shepherdstown, even though Ghosts of Shepherdstown was filmed first. And so we waited a year until the season 1 was released. And I remember watching the first episode, thinking to myself, like, wow, the editing's a little like that is not actually what happened.
Right.
I remember, I'll never forget it. This
Damn
one
editors.
scene where they put on the screen like it was in this moment that I had like shut down production because I was feeling something so intensely in the attic of the sweet shop. And I remember thinking to myself, like, that is not, I would never do that. I would never stop an investigation because I was feeling something. Not to mention, I have to see the word sensitive flash up on the screen every time I appear. It was frustrating.
As in they're like saying you're sensitive or that you are quote unquote sensitive?
I don't know.
Because mine
that I'm like not quite a psychic.
So it's like so from now on, guys, when like my name comes up on the bottom, I want you to say angry.
I just
disgruntled at life. Tim Nealon, disgruntled at life.
No, seriously.
Yeah.
So I remember being online because we were like live tweeting at that point in time and being online and starting to get feedback. And then my inbox started going because we got over 1 million in viewership that first episode.
That's not bad. You beat us.
It was really good.
Yeah.
It was good. But then all the comments started coming in and people finding my IMDb and people saying like, oh, she's just an actress. She was just cast for this role. Like, and all the hate started, like all the hate was directed to one person. That one person was me. And I was not prepared for that kind of backlash on such a massive scale because, introvert, grew up very to myself. Like this is not something that I was remotely prepared for. And being the person that I am, or I was, I've changed, was like, I would want to go in and read all these messages and I would want to respond to people and feel like, no, I could change their mind. Like, that's not who I am.
No, you can't. You
can't. I learned the hard way. And that was very difficult for me.
Well, I mean, I only know you in the context of a few things I read in this podcast. So I don't want to assume too much about you. But it seems like we have some similarities and I can understand, some of the things that you're going or you went through my own experience. Like, for somebody who grew up, having these experiences, who kind of grew up alone, maybe not like literally, like I consider myself even now a very lonely person, which, without sounding ungrateful, because I do have people around me. Like I feel, I have people around me that love me and care about me and all that stuff. But somehow on the inside, I just still feel very lonely. Like nobody will ever get it. Like nobody will ever understand like all these things. And, for you to take that step of putting yourself out there in that manner, that was probably a big deal. Like you said, at first you were so hesitant to do it because you thought people might actually see you on the show. And then to have that kind of backlash must have been, pretty tough to deal with. Almost like, well, shit, guys, I took the chance of, opening up to the world a little bit. And now this is what I get in return. Like, which maybe made you feel even more isolated.
No, I completely agree with you. That's exactly it. I think it was more heartbreaking too because of how passionate I had been for so many years about the paranormal. It was like a closet passion, sure, but I was still passionate about it. I read about anything I could get my hands on. I I I ignored the experiences I might have been having in the moment, but it doesn't mean that it took away from my curiosity, my desire to want to know more, to understand it. And I think that, yeah, it was really heartbreaking for me because they had turned something that was so close to my heart into something so negative and nasty. And it's like, well, you should just kill yourself. Well, you know what? Like, what the hell? You're watching a reality television show and you're going to react in such, like, I didn't realize up until that moment in my life that I was such a polarizing individual. Like, I learned really quick that, like, okay, there's some fans of whatever it is that I represent, but there are a lot more haters.
Yeah,
like,
no.
what do I do with that?
No, there
What do
definitely
I do with that?
As a matter of fact, like 2 weeks ago, I don't know if you guys saw it, but I was told that I should kill myself twice in a week on YouTube, and I deleted them. I'm like, well, that's a little extreme.
It's insane.
But that brings you back to that idea of, community and meeting people. Like you said, when you met Nick and I forget the other guy, and you guys
Bill.
sat down and had dinner,
Yeah.
it was almost like an instant connection. And I think that not that people like you or, I'll throw myself into this group as well because I identify with a lot of this. It's not that we're like special better, but it's special in a way where experiences and the way that our brain works, it can make it really hard for us to have real connections with people, like, or with many people, I should say. You can have deep connections with people. But like I was just talking to Nick a couple of weeks ago. We actually interviewed him and Tessa. And by the way, if I never knew who Nick was, or I never heard of his shows, I didn't realize that he was like a paranormal celebrity. If I knew nothing about that, by the time that I was done with that conversation, my thought was I could actually be really good friends with this guy. Like there was just something about that conversation and the way it went, where it's like you just get each other, like, and you can just tell, and that doesn't happen very often.
No.
Even some of the other paranormal people we've talked to on the show, like it's almost like they approach it from a clinical perspective and a very uber scientific perspective, but their emotion isn't in it. It's like the life experience didn't guide them to that the way that it does for other people, and you'll see that in the paranormal community, where. And I don't want to get too philosophical here because people might actually think I'm smart or something. But like, there's different reasons people get into paranormal, and it certainly seems like you're one of those people that, like, you need to. Like, for whatever reason, it's like you need to. Other people want to because they find it interesting, and because, like, they think they're going to be the next fucking YouTube star making some dumb paranormal show that nobody's ever going to fucking watch, which is like 3/4 of ghost people now. But yeah, I mean, I think there's something deeply personal when you get into the paranormal, or maybe the paranormal gets into you, and instead, maybe that's a different way. That's like
That's a very different way.
Yeah, either you get into paranormal or the paranormal gets into you. And not the way that our last guest was talking about either.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we had like ghost raping people in the last episode. I don't mean in that way, but
yeah.
Which, all right, we're not going to get into that because you're just going to edit it out later.
No, it's okay.
No, these guys already give me that look like, Tim, don't go there. But it is nice when you're able to meet people who have the same lived experiences that you have, because it's one of those rare moments where you can open up and have stimulating conversations. I'm willing to bet you are probably not a small talk type person. Like you like small talk probably doesn't interest you that much unless you want to talk deep. Like, why am I even talking to you? I'm willing to bet you're that way.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. I observe more than I speak, and yeah, I can't tell you how many. I'll just be completely honest. I can't tell you how many times I've said there is no point in me talking unless there's. I just can't. I can't do the small talk thing. And that's okay. That's okay. I don't need to.
Yeah, trust me, I get it. All right. So to get back to Ghosts of Shepherdstown, like, what did you guys, for anybody who might not have seen the show, like, how did that show ultimately wrap up? You know, like what did you guys find out? What do you feel that show accomplished? Maybe not like, like, oh, we got a lot of viewers, but maybe for you, what do you think that show accomplished for you personally?
I found that this is going to sound really funny. Maybe
the show can use more fun. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, no. Well, maybe not. Maybe just amusing. I kind of discovered through the process. Well, first of all, going through the whole production scenario in general was definitely eye-opening. I had a lot of things that frustrated me about being a part of the process, but I also found things that were very amusing. So, what I will say about Shepherdstown was Shepherdstown is the oldest town in West Virginia, predates the Revolutionary War. There was, it's a place where you can just walk into and you can feel the energy shift. I would say there's a few places like that in the US, but like Salem, Massachusetts is one of them for me, or you step into it and you feel like you're stepping into their world, not your world, their world. And so even though it was a show and we were investigating these different locations, what I found was that there was a common theme where, like, when we were investigating and communicating with whatever we were communicating with, it's like it really became part of the show in a weird way. It was like a merge between a production and like a real life experience. And maybe that doesn't really make a lot of sense, but for me, I found that fascinating. And at times I would joke with Bill and say, like, I feel like the ghosts are kind of playing along with us.
Right. like they're scripted
not to say that we're like playing something, but it did feel like sometimes we would get responses that be like, no, that's too good to be true. That can't be accurate. We can't, this moment can't be really happening. And I found that aspect of it quite fascinating. It was like, because it said to me, regardless of the cameras, the lights, the producers, whatever is going on, it doesn't matter because something else is still going to get its message across to us. It doesn't care about all this. All of this is like, oh, here comes the commercial bump out. Oh, here's the line we have to grab from you. But why are we here? But it didn't care about all that. But I did find it fascinating that take that all away, we were getting like fantastic communication and responses and experiences from things that like I just did not expect to have. And it took it to a totally different level for me. And I do think that the energy that is brought with the people you're investigating with also makes a big difference too. And investigating with Nick and Bill was a unique experience in itself. It was like when the three of us were together, crazy things were happening. So I will say that.
Yeah, it's almost like you said they didn't care that all this stuff was going on. I mean, one, why would they? Like,
no, right.
They have a story to tell too.
Exactly. And that's what I loved about it.
Yeah. So one, why did they pick Shepherdstown? That's not like, when you think of haunted towns across the country, there's 100 more that probably people would mention before they say, well, I think we should do a show about Shepherdstown, West Virginia. Like, how did that town even become the focal point of what you guys were doing?
Yeah, it was really our showrunner had been doing research of the area for apparently like a year prior, maybe even longer. And she had been back and forth to Shepherdstown a few times. She had been working with Dana, the historian there, who I have to make a side note. Dana was so cute because after we'd go filming, she did like the local ghost walks, and she would be all dressed up and she would go off and do her thing. But anyways, there was a lot of research that came from Dana and the history there. And I know they pitched it as like most haunted town in America. But to your point, it doesn't, like we can think of so many other towns that are also haunted. I don't know why they necessarily landed on Shepherdstown being where they wanted it to be. I can't say, but what I do know is that like our area in the Washington, D.C. area, Maryland, Virginia, West Virginia, there's so much history here. I think it was a beautiful place to be able to explore. And then in season 2, we got to explore in places that were on my bucket list, like Harper's Ferry, which was just outside of Shepherdstown. And we were able to expand the world a little bit. And then they ditched us and they went off and they did more Shepherdstown kind of stuff. They did like Ghosts of, what was it? I can't even tell you.
Toledo.
I always say it's like Devil's Worship. I don't know. You guys might know.
No,
I don't know.
No.
I don't know. They went off and did a couple other town shows, I think. But yeah, I couldn't tell you why that was the one. But from what I know, they had just been doing a lot of research of the area prior to filming it.
Well, by the time that you were done, do you think that it was worthy of being the town that was chosen?
That's a hard question to answer because I don't feel like I've compared it enough to other locations. And in a similar experience where I've spent so much time at one location. I mean, since the show, it's still, I mean, months of filming. Yeah. It really, like, it's a long time to stay someplace. Like if I stay a week somewhere, stay someplace a week somewhere else, I still can't compare it because I felt like I got to know that town on such an intimate level beyond just one location, beyond just a couple locations on the same street, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. The part of Pennsylvania I'm from, it's actually right next door. I could get to Morgantown in like 25 minutes from where I used to live.
Oh, cool.
You know, and I think West Virginia as a whole is terribly underrated, like as a state. Because you know the West Virginia jokes, you know, like banging your cousin jokes, like all those kind of jokes about West Virginia. But West Virginia is actually
stupid.
Yeah, it's an incredibly beautiful state. I honestly think
it's so beautiful.
East of the Mississippi is probably the most beautiful state there is. And unless you've been there, you really can't understand. Even now, when every once in a while, I am like a world-class procrastinator. And there are times where I want to go up and see my family because they're still up in Pennsylvania. And then I'm like, oh shit, I forgot to buy plane tickets. And then I go to buy plane tickets and there's none left. And I end up driving at the last minute. And we always go up through, you know, West Virginia. And every time I get there, it's, you go down like through the New River Gorge and all those mountains. And it's just a beautiful state. And there's lots of creepy stuff that happens there. It's not just ghosts. You got like the Flatwoods monster. Is that what it is? And like all that stuff. Yeah. And one of my favorite haunted places actually there at Trans-Allegheny. We'll be there, 2.5 months from now, 3 months from now, something. I actually really like West Virginia. If I didn't think I'd get bored, I wouldn't mind moving there. I miss the mountains. I live right outside of New Orleans. Which every time I say that, people are like, wow, that's so amazing. It's not. It's just not. So, you know, after the shows, like what does your life kind of look like now when it comes to, you know, the paranormal? Like what is it about it that is still keeping you going after all these years? And what are some things maybe you're working on, or do you still have time to go do investigations with, you know, kind of like a Renaissance person up there? You have your hands on a little bit of everything. So like, do you even still have time to do that?
Yeah. So I think it's absolutely first and foremost, but it's more, I would say, specific. So after we filmed season 1, I made it a point to the producers to say like, hey, you know, like I understand we have a tech guy on the team, but I'm actually an electrical engineer. I would like to be able to build my own equipment for the show, which I'm so happy they agreed to for season 2. So I got to do that. And then also for Nick's show, Paranormal Lockdown, same thing. I got to build experiments, sometimes on the fly. I do experiments and build gear for that show. And what I realized was it was a great way to kind of mash two passions of mine together. It was like a full circle moment for me to be able to start doing that. And so I've been a part of a few productions since those shows, like The House in Between 2 that Steve Gonzalez produced. And then I've worked a bunch with Steve Shippey. He's probably my best guy friend. we talk all the time, but I've been able to work with him on his projects. And what I found is that what I love is when I can work with someone and collaborate with somebody, but in a more intimate way. Like, you want me to be a part of your project, I am going to build gear specifically for that location, and we're going to test it out. Because I think that's the best thing we could do at this point, is because we don't know what the best things to use are. Sometimes we don't know where when we've hit our ceiling in terms of what we're capable of doing and achieving through technology. And so I just love to create weird stuff and experiment with it and see where it goes. And I found over the years, like, anytime I have the opportunity to take on a project like that, it's like my favorite thing to do in the field, hands down.
For years, I was actually looking for an electrical engineer because I wanted to form like a company that like pioneered a lot of new equipment and got it out to the masses. Mm-hmm. But there's a company, Ghost Stop. I'm like, I like them. And you kind of had your own, like, I don't want to step on anybody's toes. Ghost City already takes a lot of flack because people are like, you're trying to put everybody out of business. I'm like, no, I'm not. I want everybody to succeed. Like, what are you talking about? I don't want to take anything away from anybody. But I've always been interested in that stuff too. I think, the interesting thing when you start talking about ghost hunting equipment, and let me play devil's advocate here for a moment. Like how do you even go about thinking about what to build, considering we don't even know really what we're dealing with, other than the fact that like, it's like, okay, this is a ghost or a spirit or whatever you want to call it. We're not really sure what it is. I mean, I'm sure we have really good educated guesses and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, like we don't know what this is, like, and how it works. So like when it comes to building equipment, like what does your philosophy look like? Like, what are you hoping to figure out when you sit down and say, this is the type of, or maybe the next thing I'm going to build? Like, what does that thought process look like?
For me, I think it's a pretty complicated process in that I am trying to oftentimes, well, there's a couple things. One, I'm trying to replicate my own personal experiences as a sensing being and put that into a machine the best way I can, in order to not only validate the experiences of those around me, but also to learn about the environment in a new way. I'm really big into sensing the environment and having whatever tech I build be automatically adapting and changing to that environment.
Well, you did say you love data.
Yeah. So what I learned about my time with Maryland Paranormal Research, because we did take in a ridiculous amount of data. Thank you, Hiram. But what I learned was that we would start to see a pattern sometimes in the really intelligent EVPs that would come forward when certain elements and things were changing in our environment and our atmosphere. And he's the kind of guy that whenever we got an intelligent response, he would circle it on the chart when we would see little spikes and changes. And I found that fascinating because to me, that said that there's something happening here that's beyond just the space. Something else is being introduced to the space. So that's one set of experiences that's definitely shaped my equipment and my perspective building gear here in the future. And then, like I said, the other part is really taking on my own experiences as I don't like to say sensitive, but whatever I am, I would say it's a combination of many things that a lot of us just are. But
right.
And finding a way to mimic that in the technology that I build. And then it's also just experimentation because, like you said, we don't know necessarily what we're looking for. So sometimes I'll just experiment with things that maybe make absolutely no sense, but it's sure as hell better than sometimes just having a light blink at me.
Right.
Because it detected a
the
slight change in EMF.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So I've just been having a lot of fun with experimenting with all kinds of different things, whether they work or not. I think that that's the most important thing that we could do, not accepting the technology in the field that is given to us, understanding more the limits of each sensor that you're using. Because I think that, it's absolutely fun to buy these devices, but nobody could tell you how they're made or what their limitations are. A lot of times they're probably just going to be cheap circuits. They're going to be super cheap. They're going to be a thing that you could put together for $20. It's not going to have like the best sensor available on the market that's going to give you the range that you need to necessarily detect the paranormal. But I can say all that, and at the same time, we still can't escape the experience that we have sometimes when this happens at the same time that happens and something else happens. Like there's also something to that, whether it's cheap or not.
Well, I like that approach that you just mentioned quite a bit, because it seems like, and I'm not going to mention any specific pieces of equipment or anything like that, but if I'm being honest, and I'm willing to bet you agree with me, a lot of this commercial stuff is just complete bullshit. And if you don't agree with me, like, that might actually even be better. Maybe there's a value in it in like an experimental way. Like, hey, like you just said, like we, are repeated. Like we don't know what this stuff is. So how do you even try to figure out like what the right approach is? So we just create all these things. But there's a lot of stuff out there that I'm like, I think that's nonsense. But I'm willing and happy to be proven wrong. But I also
think both exist. Yeah.
But I also noticed that whenever you talk about this stuff, you really keep going back to EVPs. Like, I don't think we've talked once about, shadow people or any of this stuff, which is a part of what we do here. So why do you keep focusing on, at least in the context of this conversation? Well, actually, maybe the better way to ask this is that are EVPs one of the most important ways of collecting evidence in your opinion? Or maybe for you personally, is that what you tend to focus on?
I don't tend to focus on it at all when I'm building gear myself.
Right.
Because I am so heavily focused on environmental changes. I do a lot of experimentation with light work as well. And I think that the reason why I've probably brought it up a few times now is because at the end of the day, I think that sometimes the best evidence has absolutely been intelligent EVP, ITC conversations that I've had with something.
Yeah.
Intelligent, not just like it's saying some random gibberish, like me asking a very specific question that I get a very specific sentence long answer to. I think that it's difficult to say that that's not something.
I agree with you 100%. Actually, when I do any investigations now, which isn't too often, but I'll do them in my house quite frequently. I know you're not supposed to, but whatever. That's all I focus on anymore. It's just EVPs. Like, I have my voice recorder and headphones on, and there's a connection you can get with that you really can't get, at least as of yet, with all this other type of evidence that you can collect. So it's like, if you see something, a shadow person, running across the hallway or room or something, like that can be very exhilarating, and like you see it and it's real. But there's something personal about one of these ghosts interacting with you, like literally interacting with you. I asked a question, right, and you provided me a very specific answer, and they're
right.
Like, I've never been able to like carry on a whole conversation, but there has been, I think the most that I've ever got was like 4 questions in a row, like where I asked a question and provided an answer. I asked a question based on that answer, and like 4 of those in a row. And you get to the end of that, and one, it just gives you chills. But like, kind of what you just said there, it's like, how is that not something? That is absolutely something. I'm not imagining this, I'm not, I could let anybody listen to it. And for me, that's almost the Holy Grail. I know a lot of people are like, full body apparitions, the Holy Grail. I'm like, well, yeah, that's cool for sure. But like, but to be able to interact with one of these entities on a emotional, truly human level, in my opinion, is something that is really hard to beat.
Yeah, I agree. It's with everything else, yes, it's exciting and exhilarating, like you're saying. But it's still subjective experience, right?
Yeah.
Unless you have a bunch of people in the room that just saw the exact same thing. But I think that I still don't fully trust ourselves sometimes, But if I'm having a conversation with something else that's not myself, and I can play it for somebody else and they hear the exact same thing and they were not party to that situation, like that is fascinating to me. I think that we can't walk away from that experience and say, well, that was just bullshit. Like I'm sorry, like I can't do that. And I also love the experimentation that you can do with it. And in the house in between too, Dustin Perry and we took a regular deck of cards. We brought them up to the crawl space in the attic and we just flipped cards to the camera while letting our EVP, our recorders keep going. And we just asked, can you tell us this card? Can you tell us this card? And when we played it back, like it was responding with what the card was. And I just thought that was fascinating. You can't, and sure, we can say that maybe because the cameraman saw it, maybe he was somehow mind melding the recorder. Sure. But at the end of the day, it's still fascinating. You can't say that it's not. And so.
Yeah, we used to do similar things. And I've mentioned this a couple of times on podcasts before where we'd take whiteboards and like we'd write a math problem on the board, 2 + 2. Like, hey guys, like, can anybody tell me what the answer is? And you know how it goes. Most of the time you're not getting a whole lot, but every once in a while they would answer the fucking math question. And, one, that's cool. But in my head, like, let's take this a step further. Whatever these things are, like, one, they can do math, which sounds silly, like on the surface, but they could fucking do math. Like in my mind, it's like, so whatever this is, like there actually is a real thought process and like they like remember, if that makes any sense, because 2 + 2, like if you never learned math before, you'd be like, well, what are you talking about? 2 + 2? That doesn't make any sense to me. So it's like they're carrying over something they learned when they were here. Once again, even assuming that these are entities that were here at one point and now they're somewhere else. And we do the same thing with color. We'd make a orange circle on the board. Like, what color is this? And every once in a while, one would answer it correctly. And what was funny is you would never get wrong answers. It was either silence or the right answer. Because if they were just saying colors, like eventually they're going to get it right, But,
right.
But, that type of communication with them, it opens up all these, like secondary lines of information about what they are and how this all works. Like I said, they can do math. They see in color, or you were making the point, like they knew what the playing cards were. Like, how does that not get you super excited? Like as a person, when you like, to me, that's just like, oh my God, now we got to figure out what else they can figure out or what else they know. Like, it's, and the only way you can really do that is the ways that we're talking about. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, correct. And I think that even if it was nothing else there, even if it was just you guys collectively in a room together projecting that onto a recorder,
which is possible, by the way.
Is that not just fascinating? It's just as fascinating to me. And like you, like I don't need to say like ghost or spirit or like I just don't think that we know. We're not in a position to know anything. I think the second that I think that for a long time, and many reasons why I stepped away from the community for a few years was I found myself growing a little bit frustrated. It's like we're not really progressing forward. People think this was funny. I used to write this engineering blog for a company I worked for called Spark Fun in Colorado. And every Thursday, we'd have a rotation of engineers in the department that would do the Engineers Day posts. And of course, mine were always paranormal driven gadgets that I would blog about. And the comments were awful because these are other engineers, of course, other scientific minded people. And they would just rip me to shreds on these posts because they're like, I don't get it. Like, you're supposed to be an engineer. Like, why are you talking about the paranormal? And I just thought to myself, like, these people have really lost it. You think about the pioneers of just engineering in general. Like they were oftentimes told that the things they couldn't see did not exist. Like, what are we really talking about here? It's not until you experiment with stuff, it's not until you step out of your comfort zone and accept that you don't have all the answers, none of us do, that you can really move yourself to the next place. And in the paranormal community, unfortunately, I think there's just a lot of people that think that they know what the fuck is going on, and they don't know what the fuck is going on. They can't say with a certainty. I don't care if you channeled it. I don't care if you feel like you have some sort of answers because some guru told you about it, or you feel like, like you had this experience and now you know exactly what's happening at this location. I'm sorry, you don't know. None of us do. None of us will get the answer until the lights go out. And even then, I don't even know if we know. So
because it could be nothing. Who knows?
No, we could wake up on a table and it could be like, "Oh, welcome back."
Right? God forbid.
I don't know.
No, a lot of times I have to explain this to people, but you already know exactly what I'm talking about because you described it. Like, here at Ghost City, we put out a lot of content, whether it's the tours we do. I mean, even the tours, we're actually a pretty big company. We have 600,000, 700,000 people a year take our tours. It's not a small operation, so we get a lot of feedback from people on the tours. But since we've started diving more into this media side of things, and I don't know why people have to be this way. There has to be just something about human nature where if they don't get it, like they need to trash it. Like you were saying with your engineer reports, like on all of our podcasts, we let most comments stay unless they're really ridiculous and we have to delete them. But the number of people, like you said, that are convinced, like, oh no, I heard Tim or a guest say this about ghosts. You are totally wrong. Everything's actually a demon and it's just fooling you. Like those type of things. Like I know what it is. Or we've been doing these Bigfoot episodes lately. And I don't know if you're into Bigfoot or any of that kind of stuff either. But Bigfoot's real, by the way, everybody. He's out there. We're gonna find him one day. Just the amount of experts with no credibility to their name. Like it's amazing. Everybody's an expert now. And honestly, that's one of the reasons why I quit. Like I said, I'll do a little investigation every now and then, mostly at my house or this place. But I mean, that's mostly the reason I got out of doing it more publicly. Like we would never do it in, TV format or anything like that. But, going out with groups and, people would join us, all that kind of stuff. I quit doing it because it became very toxic. And, me being an introvert who, I'm sensitive in other ways than you. I get my feelings hurt easy. I just didn't want, it just didn't feel good anymore. So I took it more close to the vest and just kind of, just started doing my own thing. And, I don't know if it was a protection mechanism or just being tired, but, I got tired of exposing, what I consider personal portions of myself to the world when the world's just going to poke fun at them and tell me to go myself.
No, exactly.
It sucks.
No, I think that's 1,000% accurate. I put out a video recently after getting heckled by some guy. And I said in this video, the problem in this field is the illusion of experts. And I think that if we want to be taken seriously, we have to start taking ourselves seriously and understand that we don't have the answers so that we can get back to being curious kids again. Because I think that when we were there, it wasn't about like followers and likes. It wasn't about like what content we're going to put out next. It was literally pure joy from feeling like there was something bigger than ourselves that we did not understand.
That's very true. I mean, for me personally, like it was growing up in the woods, like just being out in the woods all the time and not knowing, like, like going on those little journeys every day, even if you're just making up scenarios in my head. We've talked about that on the podcast before. And, I bring this up quite a bit, like when people are interviewing me about Ghost City and stuff like that. I have actually, one of the last interviews I did, I literally said, one of the things I really wish people would do, and I use these words exactly, was discover that childlike curiosity inside of all of us that it seems like the world just beats out of you, and you get to a point where as an adult, you almost feel embarrassed, if you let that side of you out. I mean, a lot of people do, and that's why they hide it, or maybe they just bury it and never find it again. But, there is something special about, that childlike wonder, of knowing that anything's possible. And before the world starts telling you what is possible and what is not, and what your role is and what your lane is and all that other stuff, I do wish, and it's a personal journey I'm on myself. Like, how do I get back to that point? But while I'm on the way, it's like, can I use this company for a greater good to maybe help inspire other people to find that, childlike wonder, about the world around them. That's a lot of what our ghost tours do. We really just want people to think and become curious again, and
I love that.
And they make a lot of money. I love that too. But it's sad that we get to a point in life where, curiosity is almost looked at like a liability instead of an asset.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said.
Thank you. I'm proud of, I said something well, guys. Oh, here we go with the applause again that you can't hear. Thank you. Thank you. I'll be signing autographs next week. What advice would you give for somebody who, maybe has similar experiences than you? Because, I don't think they're that like this podcast is so popular, but I mean, there's a few 100,000 people that watch every episode. Like, I'm sure maybe there's somebody out there, maybe even, somebody younger who might have went through similar things that you went through, and being somebody who's a little bit further along that journey than they are. Like, what would you say to those people?
Well, I think a few things come to mind when you ask me that question. One is that, unfortunately, it takes a long time in life to get to a place where not only are you confident in yourself and who you are and what you represent, but you also love yourself. And when I was younger, I had no idea what that meant. But I think it's so important because it pings back to being that child and feeling like there was doubt being instilled in me from a young age by the world. That, again, like you just said, makes you, over time, it just beats the curiosity out of you, beats the passion out of you, beats who you are out of you. You find yourself at a place where you are now becoming all the things that other people have told you to be, listening to the things people told you can't do. And I think that my best piece of advice would be to listen to yourself more. There is nothing wrong with you. You have something to offer to this world. You just haven't found it yet. You can take the world by storm. You just haven't realized it yet. And put on blinders. Don't pay attention to the naysayers. Don't pay attention to the competition. Just do what you know you love to do and that you're passionate about, and everything will be okay.
Good advice. And stay curious.
And stay curious always.
Elizabeth, if people wanted to learn more about you or keep up with your projects and your passion, where could they do that at?
Yeah, so my biggest project right now, go to storieswithsaint.com. You can find me on Instagram at ElizabethSaint _, Facebook at official Elizabeth Saint. Those are the only two platforms I really post anything on.
All right. Well, I want to thank you for taking the time to join us today, Miss Elizabeth Saint. And it was actually, so this conversation, I'll be honest, did not go the way I thought it was going to at all.
How did you think it was going to go?
I thought it would be tell me your favorite ghost experience. And then you would do that. And then I would say, if you could go to any haunted location again, where would it be? And all of a sudden it dived into this whole, not like a psychology lesson or something, but no, that was very, I think it was a good conversation, as in without being too personal, it kind of went a level or two deeper than I thought it was going to. Which is good because I can identify with so much of what you said. And I know there's a lot of other people out there that are the same way, that might feel, alone. They might feel that they don't have anybody to talk to, and sometimes, like you described with meeting, Nick, and I still don't remember the other guy's name. So we're going to go back to Greg. Bill. And when you finally meet people, it just feels like you just explode, with just this, these things that like the conversation, it just starts spilling out of you because it's like, oh my God, I finally found somebody that like can relate to this or maybe understand me, or, and it's just, that's why I asked you, I was like, you're probably not in a small talk, are you? Because it's like, who cares about that? But when you finally meet somebody that you resonate with on some level, it's just like, blah, 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 blah. Like,
Yeah.
let's keep talking forever. But no, so it was a lot more interesting than I thought it was going to be as well. Not that I thought you were uninteresting or anything like that. Don't get me wrong, but like,
well, you really didn't know.
Yeah,
it was kind of like a crapshoot.
Yeah, like
it could have been awful.
No, this was not awful. We've had a couple awful. No, we have not had awful ones. We have just had guests in the past that didn't really resonate. I mean, that's we'll put it that way. Like, and I'm not going to mention who they are because at the end of the day, they were actually all really cool people. Like they were great people. Just sometimes it's like, oh my God, like
I get it.
And I know I look at Carter, he's like itching to say something over there.
I'm just going to say that Conan O'Brien once said to never tell the audience that it's not going well.
Right. This is going great.
Everything's great. Yeah. Really this was awesome. Thank you for asking me to be on. I thought it was great. Yeah. No great problem. Questions, great conversation. Felt good.
We aim to please.
Well,
yay. All right. Well, Elizabeth, we're going to let you go, but maybe in the future we'll have you back on and we can actually dive into some more ghost hunting stuff instead of,
I'd love to.
Come lay down on my couch and let's talk about what it's like to grow up like this.
Signum fraud over here.
Did you say Sigmund?
Yeah.
Sigmund. Did you say Sigmund?
Well, I think he also said fraud.
Yeah, Sigmund fraud. I was like,
I'm concussed.
Oh yeah, he actually really is concussed. He was in Austin for what was it, a bachelor party?
Yeah.
And
oh no.
There was something about like I don't know the correct term for it, but like strippers, and he didn't see one of them and he tripped over one of them.
Oh. I mean, that happens. Sometimes they're just like sprawled out.
Yeah. It does happen.
Fucking Carter. We're going to leave that part in. All right. Well,
perfect.
Well,
all right. Thank you guys.
It was nice having you on, and you go enjoy the rest of your day.
All right. You too. Bye, Tim.
All right. Thanks.
This episode was brought to you by Ghost City Tours, your guide to the haunted side of history in over 25 cities nationwide. From restless spirits to unsolved mysteries, our tours bring the dead back to life. Book now for a haunted city near you at ghostcitytours.com. Be sure to subscribe to the Ghost City Podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, and wherever you get your podcasts. And remember, stay spooky.